Well, I want to introduce you to Miss Cresta Eakin and tell you a little bit about her. I met Cresta through our son. We were needing a right hand to help us and to really be a very important part of our business world. And Seth said, Mom, I know somebody. I said, well, tell him, tell him. And
right.
He introduced us.
Yeah, he did.
What happened? Did you just tell him you were looking for?
I wasn't even there. He was talking to Charlie.
Oh, he was talking to Charlie.
Yeah, I was not there. I was at a barbecue at church.
Okay,
yeah,
so.
And he told Charlie, tell your wife.
So Cresta is able to get jobs. She don't even have to put it in for them.
That's right.
As people advocating for her.
Yeah.
So, but he introduced us, and Cresta has been a very influential and I would say invaluable part of our local businesses that we are a part of for how many years now?
This will be 7.
I can't hardly believe it's been 7 years. It has gone by.
August.
Our kids, we've watched, both of our kids are kind of in the same age bracket, and we've watched them grow up, move out, get out of college. Pick one of my kids up. That's true. That's true. Well, Cresta is married to Charlie, a wonderful person. They have a great marriage, and you've been married going on 10 years.
Going on 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like it just goes so fast, doesn't it?
It does. Sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it does. It does.
And she is mother to 2 beautiful daughters and 2, you call them bonus
girls.
She got 2 bonus ones.
Yeah. Bonus girls.
And now she has a grandbaby.
I do. She's 3.
Golly, already?
I know.
3 years old.
Yeah.
So
it's funny how these things work.
So her life is continuing to expand and move forward as it does.
That's right.
So, well, I had written down some things about Cresta. Cresta, the more I talk to her, I find out more and more about her. She's very intelligent, and she really keeps things for us on track and organized, and she keeps us moving. But she loves to travel. She's been a lot of places, and I'll be talking about going somewhere, and I went there. Well, I've already been there. Well, you need to do this. I'm like, well, I didn't know you've been on such a world traveler at such a young age, because she's a good bit younger than me, and I thought, man, you've done a lot. But she loves to travel. She loves to have fun. And she's got a wonderful spouse, and they are able to do, y'all like to do a lot together too.
We do.
You're not just married for the sake of being married. You love and you partner.
We're together.
And you parent together.
We do.
Even though their children have come in and they have blended their family, they still parent together. Both, all 4.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So they're in it. They're in it 100%.
100%.
It's not a 50-50. No. It's 100-100,
That's
isn't it?
right.
So,
good or bad.
That's right. God is a very important part of your life. Ever since I've known you, you have always been involved in Bible studies, women's studies. You go to church. But it's not just that. I feel like you really try to live your life right. You try to do what's right as best you know.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I wouldn't call you a holy roller or anything, but I would call you.
My ability. That's right.
I wouldn't call either one of us religious people, but I think that we both try. We both try to do what's right.
That's right.
That's
right.
So, and not only in our own eyes, but just, I think living right is also being respectful of, and mindful of others and what others' needs are, and be open to knowing that sometimes things are different when you're looking from a different angle.
That's right.
You may see it a little differently.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. You love your children, which we just said, but I would say Cresta is, they're in the home. Kids have been in the home, and she is there for her kids, but I would not call you a controlling mom. I would say that your kids feel free to come to you, right?
They do.
They do. And I'm sure there's some things that they would rather share with a friend, which is normal, but I feel like Cresta would not be judgmental, and she would listen. And I see that.
Yeah.
In fact, my kids come to you and talk to Don't they?
They have.
They have.
Yes, both of them. Yes.
So my kids will come, and
Yeah.
we actually had to tell our son to quit coming in here because he
That's right.
keeps Cresta. It's hard to work when he's just hanging in here, hanging around.
He would come lots and lots.
Yeah. Cresta has filled out FAFSA. If you don't know what FAFSA is, but anyway, it's
and I'm done with that.
You're done with that.
My kids are out of college now.
She's done with
That's
it,
right.
but she was helping Seth.
I was, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, a few years ago, your life took a drastic change. Something happened that you didn't see coming, and we were actually, Chris and I were on our way to IKEA. We were renovating. We still are. We're renovating some apartments,
right?
And we furnished them. So Cresta loves IKEA, and Melanie does too. But Cresta really loves IKEA, and she wore me slap out. My feet were sore. My feet were almost like bruised when I got home.
Yeah.
But we had about a 2.5 hour ride, and she just began to tell me some things that I didn't know. She began to tell me part of her story, and my mind was like little light bulbs were going off. I thought, man, Amarada needs to hear her story. They need to hear what happened to whatever degree you want to share and how she got through it. And it inspired me, and it was encouraging. And I love a story when somebody goes through something, and instead of bringing them down, they grow. And when they tell what happened, it uplifts you, and it's like, okay, they got through this, so I can get through this. If this happened and she's able to deal with this and still smile, and God just showed out in miraculous ways.
He did.
So I want you to hear it as much as Cresta's willing to share. But she began to tell me on our long little drive to IKEA. We had a wonderful time, and she just told me a little bit of what happened with one of her daughters, and we're going to tell not the daughter story, we're going to tell the mama story.
That's right.
So what would you like to share about?
All right. So like Melanie said, I'm going to tell my side of it because my daughter's story is hers to tell, not mine. 3 years ago, February of 2020.
Wow. Okay.
So it just has come full circle. So our granddaughter was born February of 2020.
Wow. We
were actually at the hospital when my bonus girl was, having our granddaughter, and I get the call. So in February of 2020, my daughter had done some things that she shouldn't have done, and she was going to turn herself in. I was not in town. I was about 4 hours away, and my mother, she's an amazing woman.
Thank goodness for mothers.
Thank goodness for mothers.
That's right.
She said, you are right where you need to be. I will go and I'll handle it here. So my mother went. My daughter turned herself in. She was released on bond that same day. And she was talking to a counselor here in town. And nothing seemed to get better. So in July of the same year, she did something again and ended up having to turn herself in. And I had already made my mind up at that point that I was not getting her out of jail. She had done wrong and she needed help. Right. My daughter is an addict, and so much has come to light that we didn't know. They keep it from you. They, tell you what you want to hear. But looking back, I knew, looking back now, I could tell when she was using and when she wasn't.
But you can put the pieces together,
I
guess.
For sure. So, long story short, she was in jail. She turned herself in on a Thursday, and she got bail on that same day. Her lawyer did not think we were going to get bail, so we had got passwords to bank accounts, got all bills, all that, because we thought she was in there. And she ended up getting bail.
Thank goodness. That's right.
I did not get her out that day. And I made her stay until Monday. And I would not get her until I had somewhere for her. And I told her basically, you know, she was of age, so she could make that on her own decision. But I told her she needed help no matter, you know what. So I found an inpatient facility in another state, and my mom and I picked her up on that Monday. And I will tell you that Thursday to Monday was the best sleep I've gotten in years.
Really? Because you knew she was okay.
She was safe.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as ironic as that is, I mean, your kid is in jail, but I knew she was safe. And at that moment, she wasn't using. So,
right.
So she was not happy about that. Right. She tried to manipulate me, which, you know, she had been manipulating me, come to find out in, you know, the years prior, but I'd made my mind up. This was what it was going to be. So.
And it's good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear you committed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You committed no matter how uncomfortable it made you.
Oh, and I was very uncomfortable, right. But it was what it was. And so we picked her up that Monday, and we drove her to another state and dropped her off. And that at that moment, I felt like my world was gone to what I knew. I did not know when I would see her again. I did not know what life looked like after that That's moment. Right. And she was an inpatient for 42 days. And I will say that was the hardest time, but it was also good because, again, I knew she was okay. And I started, just as she was starting to work her ways, whatever she needed to do, I started. Yeah. And I've learned so much. You know, I've never dealt with this. Nobody in my family has ever dealt with anything like this. And so I just hear, you know, I heard before, you know, this, and this. And, you know, addiction is a real thing. And it absolutely affects the family, you know, and I could say from this side of it, it almost affects the family more than the addict, because for a long time, the addict is unaware of what's happening. Right. But she was in treatment. She went to sober living, and she's still in that other state. She did not, come back. Thank goodness. And
you say that because you are very concerned about the company, mm-hmm. and you want to just
we prayed and prayed and prayed for her not to come back here, but I never mentioned that to her because I wanted that to be right. her decision. I didn't want her to say, well, you told me not to, and now I'm here. It's on you, and right. So we prayed and prayed for that. And then one day she called me and told me, you know, this is my choice. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because that is exactly what we wanted. But I would say I've learned a lot about myself in this process. Yeah. I really have. And God just works it all out. You know, you question. And of course I was mad and hurt and angry and, you know, why me? You know, our family is good. Why me? What have we done? And
to deserve this, right?
And it's nothing about that. And God didn't do anything to me. But those were my questions, you know, why God? Why now? Why right now? You know,
and there were a lot of delays because this was during COVID, remember?
That's right.
So you said February of 2020.
February of 2020.
And that's kind of when we began to learn of COVID. Mm-hmm. It was just starting.
That's right.
And what Cresta would go on to experience was delay mm-hmm. after delay that's after right. delay. And it was very frustrating.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, I mean, our lawyer just, you know, this has been put back. You know, of course, no courts were going in. And I'm just, it's frustrating because the next step is her charge. I will share, she had 5 felonies on her, and that's big. One of the felonies was carrying 20 to 45 years in prison. And that's hard to swallow. That's hard to swallow for her. That's hard to swallow for her mother. And it was, your stomach is turning because, all right, we got a court date. Nope, we don't have a court date. Oh, we have a court date. And I know a lot of bad things happened in COVID. But God worked it out for us in ways that I will never understand. And it's not for me to understand, but because of COVID, courts weren't doing court sessions. So her court appearance was pushed back like 14 months. And by the grace of God, we finally went to court, and she got 9 months probation. 9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
And during that time, there was advice given you.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't go into details, but there were things that people would come up and say, you need to ask this question.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
About evidence.
That's right.
And in doing so, she began to ask certain questions, and things began to fall into place in a way that Cresta could not have orchestrated.
That's right.
And the timing of it all, it was like a very finely fit puzzle.
For sure.
Even though, now I know any of you that have had any type of a court date or whatever it is, whether it's a divorce, child custody, anything like that, or you've been sued. I mean, we're in business. We've had lots of things we have to show up for. That is enough, just even minor things, to make you uptight and stressed out.
That's right.
But now we're talking about felonies. We're talking about your child being away from you for many years, maybe.
That's right.
And it was probably at one time looking like that. And so you're wanting to get through it and resolve it in a good way and get it behind you.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I did ask the questions, about, you need to ask this specific question. And I'm not, she did what she did. There's no question in my mind, but she didn't do what she, to the extent that was said that she did.
Right.
And she's never denied that. And, so it just, God's timing is perfect timing, and there's nobody can ever tell me otherwise. Like God showed out for me for this. I don't know. But I will say, for the last 3 years, I have been in counseling. I have been mentored to. I have talked to several people, because I was left in this place where, I'm left where she left me. So I needed to move on, and I needed to know how to help her and how to care for her. But what I learned is boundaries. And anybody that knows me knows my children are it for me. I mean, they are my world. But I've learned boundaries that I didn't have before. And it's okay that I tell my kids no now. It's okay that I don't answer that phone call from them because I'm busy. And I wouldn't do that before.
Your life matters.
My life does matter. That's right.
Does.
And, but she's done wonderful. This July will be 3 years sober.
It's awesome.
Yes. She's made a life where she's at in another state. She's actually, she has a sponsee. So she's now a sponsor for another.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
She's actually working and helping others now. So
she is.
It's not just that she's doing well, but she's helping others.
That's right. That's right.
What did you learn about your love for your children? Your love for them? Did it change? You just shared a little bit about, you do have more boundaries now than maybe you did. I know your love doesn't really.
My love has not changed. If any, if anything, it's almost more. And that sounds weird because I've always loved my children with everything I have. But, I can't I can get them to where they need to be, but they're adults and they make their own choices and their own decisions. And I have to realize it's not because of me. It's not because of the mother I was. It's not because of, how I raised them, because they were both raised,
They're both good girls. I know both of them personally.
They are both good girls.
They are.
Trouble just happened, and so
we go through things, don't we?
That's right.
Well, what did you learn about God through this? Did you learn? Was there anything new, or maybe you didn't expect that He taught you?
I've always believed that God's timing is the right timing, but a lot of people say that, right? And that's true. And I will tell you, I have been on my face on the ground, and God has been right there. I mean, He has showed up and showed out to where just different things, my job, with all this, Lynn would come in, right? And I'm just a mess. And I'm like, and it just, God shows up in so many people in your life, and I don't know, but He's real and He's there, and you're never alone. You're never alone. And that's good. You're never alone. No matter if you think you're alone, you're not. And if you talk to Him, He will answer back. Maybe not today, but He will show you. And
I would say I know more of her story, and I'm just thinking about that phrase that you just said, God's timing is perfect. It sounds so cliche. You hear it. That's right. I used to hear it a lot when I was going through infertility. And I got sometimes where I just hated to hear people say that because I joke about it now, and I know that God, He laughs with me because He knows I mean it, but I always say that, you are right on time, but you never get in any hurry.
No, He doesn't.
He does not get in any hurry in it. And what she went through, I mean, even 1 week of some of what she was facing, 1 week was a horrible week.
That's right.
It was horrible because it's a week of not sleeping.
That's right.
It's a week of just being anxious. I mean, I can almost feel it because you don't know the future. You don't know where this is going.
That's right.
Where is this going?
You can't picture your daughter, in prison. No. Like
your baby, your beautiful
right.
baby.
How does that work? But if he would have been a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, I'm human flesh, right? So people would say, like you said, God's timing is always perfect. But I need it now because do you know what I'm going through? Do you know the hurt? Do you know how many tears I'm crying at night? But He did. He knew exactly. He was there before I was there. And He knew exactly where He needed to put this and that to make this and that come out the way it did. And
like this.
That's right. And it did. I mean, it couldn't have been written any better than it was.
And it was not only a miracle, but even people locally would tell Cresta just how awesome, and this was a much better, this was a miraculous outcome.
That's right.
It really was.
Right. And so she's out of her probation now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
She does have to stay out of trouble or whatever for 5 years because 2 of the felonies were thrown out, and one of the felonies that were thrown out was the largest felony.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. And so she does still have 3 felonies, but if after 5 years, so she's got 4 to go, and she doesn't get in trouble, those will be expunged. So, So in 4 years, her record will be clean. Because she had nothing prior to this, nothing.
Okay.
So the felonies will be gone. She will have nothing on her record.
So that's our prayer.
That's
so y'all pray with us that everything, that God would just protect her through this and really strengthen this daughter. And apparently she's beginning to already give back to others.
She is.
And I can see her. being a leader. I can see her doing that. And I'm just very happy and I'm not sure what the word is. It's very emotional, even for me, because I tell my children, and I think you'll identify with me when I say this, when you look at your child, you don't just see them as a 24-year-old or whatever age they're at, or a 35-year-old.
Right.
Some people, you have older children. You see them from baby all the way to 35.
Correct.
You see everything at once.
That's right.
And that's the only way I know how to describe it. Everything. And I was reading or watching something that was talking about a mother. And I may have shared this, but I'll share it again because I think this is so interesting. That when you carry a baby, that your baby's cells are interchanged within your body. So even after you give birth, there are still some of that child's cells in your body. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember that when my children were born, I remember them crying. And I used to tell my husband, I'd say, man, it hurts me. I could feel it in my chest, like hitting me. I couldn't explain that feeling like it's almost like it was in my spirit. And now I know maybe that sounds almost woo-woo, but really I would feel like almost like I was hit when they would cry out for me. Mm-hmm. It would just jolt me away. Yeah, I could feel it.
That's right.
I could actually feel their cry. And then when I read that, and I just recently read that about the cells, I thought, well, maybe that is it. Maybe it's because you really connect with them on a deeper level. Because I had one mother that would tell me that she would wake up before her child got sick. She'd be awake. She'd already be awake. And that happened to me one time. Mm-hmm. It did happen to me. And as a mother, and I'm sure fathers too now, I'm not just saying this about mothers, but you identify with them on a deeper level than just up here. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to talk about A Mother's Heart, A Mother's Love, and really dedicate this month to that. And I wanted you to hear this story because it really encouraged me and inspired me. Sometimes life does happen, and it happens in a way we're not prepared for. We don't like it, and we surely don't want to hang around in that area, in that time, in that space, in that difficulty. We don't want to hang around in that point. But we just can't get out of it real quick, right? I mean, we can't like microwave, I'm out.
It's done, right.
We have to go through and
I think that's good that we have to, now on this side of it, I'm glad that I had to go through it because I'm better for it. Yeah. Where I can appreciate it. I totally look at addicts totally different. And I will say too, I learned this hard. I don't resent her. Before you may resent your child for all of this, but I've learned I don't resent her. I resent the addiction.
Right.
And
the attack. It's really an attack on her life.
That's right.
And on all y'all, which it affects.
That's right. So, for anybody that's going through this, there is light at the end of it, and there is hope, and you just have to love them through it. You do. Yeah. You have to love them through it, but they have to put the work in. And I will tell you, she has absolutely put the work in. So.
And you pretty much just about answered my last question. What would you say to other moms that are going through things? It may be different than what you went through.
Right.
I mean, people have all kinds of struggles out there.
And everybody's bottom is different, mm-hmm. right? Everybody's rock bottom looks different. And, but I would definitely say you need, as a parent or a spouse, or not the addict, as we're called the earth people, mm-hmm. which I've learned that because we're not the addicts. So addicts call non-addicts earth people. But so we have to get help, because you can say it's their problem and they need to fix themselves. That's not true. I am not an addict. I didn't do anything. but it was absolutely my problem.
Yeah, it
right.
sure was.
And I would not have made it to sit here today if it weren't for other people, if it weren't for people praying for me, if it weren't for them praying me through it, if it weren't for mentors. And I would be on a Zoom every Monday out of state with other parents that were going through this. And I did that for a year. And you need that.
Right.
You need that. And you're not alone.
So the support was really, you had to have that really to get, that helped you get through.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I could not have done it without it. And
well, thank goodness.
Yes. Thank goodness.
And now,
yeah,
I'm sure that you're going to be there for others.
Oh, I will. You
probably already have been. I wouldn't be surprised.
If I could help anybody, I would, because it's,
Is there anything else you want to add? Anything you could think of that we hadn't talked about?
I don't think so. But just, if there's people out there that are going through it, they're not, the addict is no different than us, right?
Yeah.
They just have
a person.
That's right. They're a person. And that changed my whole view. I didn't look at addicts if I would come across one like, ooh, right? But I didn't understand. So I guess they were in a different league, right? Like, you could just stop, just stop, right?
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And
it's deeper than that, isn't it?
It is. It's much deeper. So
that's only what you see, but
for sure,
but there's more on the inside.
That's right. We're like onions. I've been told that, you peel us layer by layer. I learned that in counseling. It is much deeper. So I love them through it, with boundaries. You have to have boundaries, and they have to do it.
Yeah.
I told my daughter I could sit in this parking lot and pray you through it and tell you to do it, but that's not going to work. You've got to put in the work. So, love them.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you being on here. And so if you are going through anything yourself, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children, or even grandchildren, because I know that we have all ages out here that are watching, women that are watching this, that you probably have older grandchildren. Make sure you are getting the help you need. Make sure you're getting support. You have somebody, some group that you can identify with, that you can be uplifted by. Or it's not always just to be uplifted or to be uplifting. It is, I think sometimes it feels safe to be with other people who can identify with where you're at. I mean, you may both be a mess, but
but you're
you
not
can
alone.
understand. Right. You can understand each other and where you're coming, and you can understand, like when you go through a birthday for that child or whatever is happening, you can both relate. So make sure that there is something about walking through a storm with somebody else.
That's
right.
Isn't it? That's true.
It is.
It is.
And knowing that we are not alone. And even if you feel like, sometimes we feel like it's just us. This is not happening to other people, but I can assure you that whatever you're going through, somebody else has been through it. They've been through it, and they can maybe just have a little perspective that will help you. And let's not any of us be too proud to reach out. And it's because it's not a sign of weakness. It's just wanting to be more, I think, knowledgeable, wanting to understand. It's part of studying and just bringing ourselves where our minds, being open. Just say being open and being aware that we don't know everything. And our buddy might not know everything, but together, maybe we can help. Yeah, we can at least, take another step forward.
And that's what I did many days.
Yeah.
Step by step.
Yeah.
Because there was many days I was like, I'm the only one. But I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah. But it feels like
But
sometimes.
It does.
And it feels very humiliating. I don't know about your situation, but just I'm saying for me, things I've gone through, and I think it was just me, it's very humbling, and you do feel like everybody's looking, everybody knows, they know your worst dirt, and think they're thinking the worst.
Well, in my case, they did because this was in town, this was local, and so a lot of people knew my daughter, and they knew I was her mother. So I mean, this was like news. It wasn't just hid behind the scenes. Like, this was on the news, and so people looked at me and different, and I'm just, hey, so
Yeah.
But,
You just have to hold your head up.
what a miracle she is.
What a miracle she is.
That's right.
And what God's
God,
timing
that's right.
was just, it's just unreal the way things fell into
Yes.
place. It was definitely a miracle, but it didn't happen quick.
That's right. It didn't.
It never happens as fast as we want it to.
It was worth the wait.
But it was worth the wait. And it couldn't have happened any better than it happened.
That's right.
God really was in it, in the timing of it all, the love of it all. And he has you where he wants you, and he has her where he wants her.
That's right.
And he's going to use you. I know he is.
Yes, he is.
And I'm looking forward to her too, her life story.
Yes.
Ladies, we'll be back out here Sunday, so please come out here and have coffee with me. And I have Monica is going to be coming on next Tuesday, and it's going to be another theme about mothers. So I'd love to have you out here, and just, we're really out here to empower and encourage so that, you know, you don't feel alone and you feel encouraged and you understand that my mother used to say, this too shall pass.
That's right. And it will.
And it will.
And it will.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate you. Thank you.
you.
Love y'all. And I will see you out here. I love seeing your stories, and I love seeing your pictures that you post. So post more. Bye, Amarada.